everyone. Welcome to the Authentic as Fuck podcast, where we talk about with Yelena. Hello, Yelena.
Hello.
My name is Sun, and we talk about how to come up with content ideas, and we try to give examples of how we make content. So, just kind of continuing on what we were just talking offline. Here's the thing, right? People want to learn how to make good content, right? And that's kind of I want them to make good content. So let's say here's the bar of good content. Here's the shittiest content you can possibly make, and here's like the best content, right? Now everybody's making content right here, average. Mm-hmm. That's not good enough, right? They want to be like up here, like at the 80% mark, 90%, like so that they can grow their business. Like if you're just average. If you're an average person, okay, if you're a business owner and you're average, that actually means you're going to go out of business. Because most businesses go out of business in the first year. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that's what average means, okay? So if you want to make good content and if you want to actually make profit in your business, your content has to be more than average. It has to be, not the best, but it has to be good, right? It has to be above average. So let's think about this. Imagine all the tennis players imagine everybody who, let's say, plays tennis, right? And let's say the average person plays at this level, right? But if you want to be good in tennis, you obviously have to be above average, right? So in order for you to be above average tennis player, if you go to a tennis court and you want to be in the top 20 percentile of that, let's say there's 100 people in a tennis court and you want to be at the top 20 percentile, right? How good do you think they have to be?
Definitely they need to be really good.
And in order to get to that level, how many hours do you think they need to practice to get there?
I think that really good players need to have like two trainings per day or something like that.
Yeah, like if an average player, let's say, plays once a week, the really good player probably has to play every day, like an hour a day, right? Yeah. That's how you get there, right? So that's why I don't understand people who's like if they come to Night Owl Nation and they spend an hour a week or 2 hours a week and they actually think that they're going to be great content creators. There are fucking people who do this 40 hours a week. So really? Like there's no way you're going to be a good content creator, good storyteller by practicing 2 hours a week. I don't understand that.
The thing is, maybe how much would you say that you practice storytelling or that you practice?
Like when I was posting every day, like when I first started on Instagram, I was probably spending about between 2 to 4 hours making a carousel every single day.
How much?
Between 2 to 4 hours it would take me to make one carousel. And I was doing that every single day.
Wow.
Not every single day, maybe every other day. But basically, I did that for the first 100 posts that I made. Do you understand what I mean? And then, I think if you do that, then you realize, okay, shit, like I'm making really good improvement. It's just that, you know what it is? I feel like people in today's world have no idea what hard work means. They have no idea what, what diligence means. They have no idea, like, they can't really gauge, because everybody lives such a comfortable life. Here's the thing, like, the bar is so low right now. Like, if you can't fucking build a business that makes at least $100,000 a year right now, you're a fucking idiot. Like, you must be the either the fucking dumbest person or the laziest fucking person if you can't make $100,000 a year, doing your own business. That's how fucking easy it is right now.
Okay.
Do you understand what I mean? Like, but the reason why they can't even do that easy shit is because they're not even willing to put in the basic amount of work that it takes in order to do that. And this is what basic amount of work looks like. Spending 2 hours a day, every day, making content for 100 days. That's what basic looks like. 20 years ago, when I started my business, I was working 80 hours a week.
Yeah, but this is, I mean, your standards are.
My standard is what's required. Everybody has some delusional standard of what.
Okay, well,
And it's true because like these lazy fuckers can't even get up in the morning to go to the gym. Like, so I mean, it's really basic little shit like that.
Yeah. Well, maybe the thing is that people want to make average business. Maybe they don't want to make.
Yeah, but what they're
extraordinary.
doing right now is not even average. It's like below average.
It's like a hobby,
Yeah,
right?
not even. It's like a joke hobby. Like,
You think so? Because you know how I see it. I think that it's super easy to just create content in that Bloom's taxonomy that you shared. Let me find in my
here's what I think.
pictures. No, hear me first to tell you what I think. I think that it's super
What do
easy
you think?
to. It's super easy. Yeah, so this is Bloom's taxonomy.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's super easy to create some content just to like. You have so many content out there. You can just take something, change it
Yeah,
a
you
little
can make
bit, and
content in 5
post.
minutes. I
Yeah,
can just
and
write
post
some
it
stupid
your
quote
own.
and post it.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is something that is easy, and with that, you actually can make your business on that level.
No way. No fucking
And
way. Because that's what everyone's
I
doing.
think,
If
yeah,
everyone's doing
well,
it, then and not
I've
obviously
seen
most
people.
businesses don't make money.
Okay, I've seen many people doing that, and in psychotherapy and coaching area, and actually they create their own community. So I see that they have developed their own businesses. There are some
Okay, let me ask you
process,
this: how
some
many
free
hours
things.
a week do you think they're working? The
Working
people
on
who are
creating content
yeah,
or working with clients.
for their entire business. I
I
mean,
have
because you
no
don't
idea.
have to make content to make money. Like the 100K thing I was talking about, like anybody can make 100K. You don't even have to make content. I mean, it's just
What did you mean by that?
you can be a freelancer, and then you can
Okay.
talk to everybody you know, and it just go around or cold call and cold DM people, and just DM. This is what I would do. I would just look up websites, people running ads that have shitty websites, and then I would just reach out to them. I'd be like, "Hey, I redesigned your landing page for you like this. I think this would work much better." And then like keep doing that for free. For maybe I'll do that for like a couple months, making zero
Yeah.
money, and I'll just put in the work, 40 hours a week doing that. And then from there, I'll get one client that pays very little, and I'll do that, and then do that for a couple months, and I'll make a little bit more in the next couple months, and then you keep doing that. In a year or two, you'll be making $100,000 a year. Like that's just bare minimum basic you have to do. That they don't even want to do that. They're like, oh my gosh, I have to work for free for the next 2 months. Like, what the fuck did you think business was?
Okay. So
People are just so fucking soft these days. Is what I'm trying to say.
so let's for the sake of an argument say that we are softer than what people used to be.
Mhm.
So I think we need to include that as well, because something is changing. You can criticize other people because they're not, I
And
don't
it's
know,
just not
dedicated
just
enough.
hours. It's not just
This
hours or
is
laziness. It's when I say like soft, I'm including this
okay.
also. Like you set an alarm and you can't wake up at that time. That's soft. That all that requires is just mental toughness. It's not even like that you need to like physically, or you have to spend long hours. It's just a mental block. When I see people say, "Oh, I'm working like 12 hours a day," and then when I look at them, well, they're actually spending about 9 hours on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and they're actually working. The actual sitting down and focusing and doing work is actually like 3 hours. So people have a skewed concept of what work is, right? And so, like, I'm talking about all of those combined.
So what's your point? People are a
My
bunch of
point is
losers
like these
wanting
fucking
to
people have
being
like,
delusional.
yeah, if you want to be good content, or like I just within the context of like being a good content creator, if you want to be a good content creator, if you want to be the top 10% of the content creators, right? And that's probably not even good enough. Let's look like top 10% of. How many? I read something like um okay, 26.43% of Instagram. Okay, 26.4% has less than 1,000 followers. 50% have between 1,000 to 10,000 followers. 15%. So to be at over 10,000 followers, you have to be top 15%. Okay? So if
Okay.
you want to be top 15% of the creators, you have to do the things that top 15% of people are doing. It's as simple as that, right? Like if you want to make $100,000 a year in the US, that's like probably top 10%, maybe five, somewhere between 5 to 10%. Like if you're making $100,000 a year, only about 5 to 10% of people in America are making $100,000 a year. So if you want to make $100,000 a year, you have to do what the 90 to 95% of people are not willing to do. If you want to make $1 million a year, you have to do what the 99% of people are not willing to do. And for some reason, people have this delusion that they can work like an average person, but actually have the result of the top 10%. That's just not going to happen.
Okay.
I
Do you
think I
think,
haven't gone. When I started Night Owl, my agency,
can I
from
ask you something?
yeah,
So when you think about those people, those 15%
hmm
of people that actually are making 100K a year, how would you describe
they're like five
their
to 10% of America,
no no no
and it's like one
no
percent in the world.
son, please, I didn't finish. So how would you, what's your opinion on the quality of their content, on their critical thinking, how much they actually know what they're teaching?
The top creators.
15% you
Yeah, here's the thing.
mentioned.
I think if you do what the top creators are doing, because everybody that I know that grew like fast or grew a lot, like they put in a lot of work to do that. They didn't just get there by accident. They not only spend time creating content, but they also do engagement and stuff like that, which is fine. Yeah, you can. That's, I would say that's the bare minimum you have to do to get there, and that's fine. But what I want to teach is how can you utilize that time the best so you can actually make great content, right? So all I'm saying is this. Like, I think that if you spend like 10 hours a week on practicing storytelling and content and things like that, this stuff, and part of that is actually creating the content and posting it, right? So it's not you're not practicing and throwing it away. You're creating, you're posting, creating, posting, right? If you spend 10 hours a week doing that, then like I would say Rosalinda is probably spending a good 4 or 5 hours a week. In a year, she just, her level of storytelling is like very optimal. Like now, all she has to do is keep creating and keep posting, and she'll automatically get there, right? But if like the problem with her is that she's not posting. For some reason, she writes great stories and posts it on Circle, but I never see her post it on Instagram. But anyway,
Okay.
that's a separate issue. But I think if somebody spends 10 hours a week doing that, I think they can become like if somebody spends 10 hours a week every week for a year, I think they can become a great content creator. Like they would literally have a completely different life. If what I'm teaching right now, if you're just doing like Rosalinda, what I'm asking you to do and do the practice and spending 10 hours a week doing it, making content every week for a year, like your life will change. But the thing is, I would say right now, the average person spends 0 hours. And probably the top 20% spends about between 2 to 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I mean? So I mean, it's just that's not gonna cut it, is what I'm saying. And I guess
So,
what was your original question?
so what's your opinion on the quality of
Oh,
content
okay, yeah.
that 15%
So
of
this is what
people?
I think. If you spend 10 hours a week just making low quality, not even thinking, and just pushing out content like cliche content 10 hours a week
Mm-hmm.
every week, you'll still grow your social media and you'll still grow your business. Maybe you might have to do some part of the 10 hours, maybe has to be like engagement and stuff like that too. But you'll still grow if you just do that, you'll still grow your social media. Actually, to grow your business, there's other stuff too. Content is one part of it, but to grow your business, you have to go meet people, you have to collaborate, you have to, you know, network and things like that, right? But basically, you'll still get to the level that you're talking about, making good money, right? Which most people are not even doing. They're not even doing that. Spending 10 hours a week spent making stupid content. They're not even doing that. But if they were spending 10 hours a week doing it the way I'm telling them to do it, like it will be literally life changing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, um,
and,
let's
and
consider that.
and that's not just because of content. It's because I can get in a meeting with anyone and I can outsell anyone just because of that same skill. I can go like every time I go on stage and I talk, like people always remember my talk over everyone
Mm-hmm.
else's. Like in every aspect of my life is like that. And I'm not even trying because I've practiced the storytelling. I'm not trying to brag or anything.
Yeah. Okay. So, let's say that someone is willing to invest time, and especially if you are an overthinker, then you are probably
It's not
already
just time,
investing
it's
your
also
time.
pressure. Because like what you said, right? We're only spending whatever 2 3 hours
Mm-hmm.
on this podcast, and then let's say whatever hours you spend outside of it to prepare for it, whatever it is, right? It's not just the hours. You said that you have this sense of relief after we finish recording, and then after a few days you start to get stressed again because I need to come up with the
Mm-hmm.
idea. Like, you need that stress. You need to be uncomfortable. You don't, unless you're uncomfortable, you're not growing, right? So if you think that,
Yeah.
oh, it's just hours and it's gonna be cushy and easy, there's gonna be no pressure and stress or uncomfortable, then it's not gonna work, because without discomfort, you're not gonna grow.
Okay, that's true. That's true. And
I actually think
I
that's the
remember.
bigger thing. I don't think it's actually about the hours for most people. I actually think for most people, people people hate discomfort so much, and I think that's the issue. That it's the reason why they don't like confrontation. It's the reason why people will. I don't want to have a confront. I don't want to confront this person and I have this 10 minutes of awkward conversation. That's so pressure.
Mhm.
It's so uncomfortable that I would rather spend 10 hours actually doing extra work so that I can avoid this 10 minute of awkward, discomfort, uncomfortable conversation. That's that's what I mean.
So I remember in the first round, we had this pressure that we need to promise how many um, content
Yeah,
posts, how many posts we will post for the next week. So I remember that as something that was, I don't know, some kind of um, some good amount of pressure. And the whole thing of that you need to go to your meeting and you should not skip it. This kind of put that pressure that you need to prepare, and I knew that I need to be there. So I like that pressure. So now when I'm seeing one colleague every week right now, and this is what I started to apply after being in the community, to schedule every Friday morning.
yeah.
I'm on this call and we are doing something in psychotherapy together. So this kind of pressure that I need to prepare for this is good amount of pressure.
But I think people
So
like that
I get it.
are already like top 10%. Like, people that know themselves enough to know that I need outside pressure to go hire a coach, to keep hire somebody to keep them accountable, right? That likes that pressure. That's already like really good. But
Mm-hmm.
I would say like 80% of people are not even that. They're like, no, I don't want to. I don't want outside pressure. I don't want like, and that's the reason why when we did that whole like really forced stuff, like 80% of people
Mm-hmm.
don't show up, right? So I agree.
Yeah.
It's better than have no pressure, right? But when there's that kind of outside pressure, most people just give up. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
So I think
I
the
know.
perfect ideal situation which I'm trying to create is like this. There are certain things that's uncomfortable, that gives you so much discomfort, and it's so hard,
Mm-hmm.
but you do it not because somebody's pressuring you, not because you're forcing yourself to do it, but because you actually want to do it. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, for
Yeah.
example, when you go skiing, like, skiing is hard. Like, you keep falling on your ass and but then you want to try to get that, you want to try to go,
Mm-hmm.
go faster or whatever it is. So you push yourself to the discomfort voluntarily because it's so fun. And it's the same with like violin, or trying to learn the guitar, or trying to play a video game, right? Like, sometimes I was like, you're playing Mario Kart and you're like, ah, shit, I keep failing this round over and over, and it's uncomfortable to keep trying it over and over and try it a little different. Or here's a perfect example. I saw this video. There's a YouTube channel. This was a long time ago, of this guy who practiced his skateboard tricks. And what he'll do is he'll put the camera there, and he'll do a jump, and he doesn't make it. He falls, and then, like, these falls are pretty harsh. So I'm like, oh, if I felt like that
Mm-hmm.
once, I'll be like, oh my gosh, no, I can't do this, right? But then after he falls, he's like, ah, And then he walks up to the camera. He's like, okay, I think what happened there was I jumped a little too quick, so I'm going to try it again. And he goes back and tries it again, and he falls again. And then he goes to the camera, okay, this time I made it, but when I landed, I did this, so now I'm going to try it again. And then he keeps doing that over and over and 20 times until he finally
Mm-hmm.
makes it. He's like, yes, right? That's what I'm talking about. I need to recreate that desire to want to be on, desire so strong that because it's so fun or whatever it is, that they're willing to
Mm-hmm.
go through that pain and discomfort to do it. And when you do that, it doesn't even feel uncomfortable. It doesn't even feel like pain. I think
Yeah.
that's the most optimal way to learn.
So I agree to combine fun with the pressure.
Yeah. Kind of like you and psychotherapy. Like you're putting in a lot of work trying to learn this. The reason
Mm.
why you probably are at a, you know, at a certain level in your area of work is because you love it so much that you're willing to go through the discomfort. You know, that most people who just are therapists because like for surface level therapists who just want to be
Mm.
called therapists, they don't actually care about the work, they're never going to get there. And that's why I think most therapists suck. Like I you know, so many therapists I talk to, I'm like, are you like, you sure? I feel like I could be a better therapist than you. Like, like, do you understand what I mean? Like they're so bad.
Okay. So you told me why so this kind of pressure that I'm feeling, it's not that I don't want to. Yeah, this is why it's hard. For example, I'm taking singing classes, so I have homework for tomorrow. It's a song that I already know, so to learn it a little bit more. So this is super precise thing for me that I need to do. So this is kind of pressure that I like singing. I do this for fun. I don't know how to do that song, but I have like really specific goal. But in terms of creating content and doing this, preparing for this, or
Oh yeah,
it's
I'm not blaming the people, by the way. I mean that's how everyone is. Well, I'm actually blaming myself. What I need to do is I need to, and what I'm working on is, okay. Let's say
Mhm.
here's you are, and here's where you need to get to, right?
Yeah,
And right now I'm doing is I'm just teaching everything here, and I'm like, okay,
yeah,
catch up, right? What I actually need to do is I need to break this down into 20 little steps so
yeah.
that they
This
can.
is this is how I feel because and especially when I combine, because I want to use this for, I hope, psychotherapy purposes, maybe for something else as well. I'm not sure. Um, but I feel the more I think about this, I feel like, that, you need to learn lessons that you're teaching. So I don't know how to address, how to think about this and to be sure that I know what I'm doing. This is the thing, because I don't know if I'm doing it good or not. And that's why this pressure is kind of a vague, and then I just kind of postpone it, like, okay, I'll think tomorrow about that, and then
Yeah.
it's
But if I give
Wednesday
you
is
like a
coming.
specific thing, right? I want you to make a list of 10 things in from your whole life where um okay, here's a situation, right? Like you're really good at, let's say, um singing, and
Okay.
a brand new student just came to class and you see all the mistakes that she's making. You know, and
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh, she's doing that wrong. Oh, she's doing that. Like, and it's so obvious to you, but it's not obvious to her, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you feel frustrated. You're like, oh my gosh, like she just doesn't get this. Like, things that are so
Okay.
obvious to you, but not to them, right? So if I was to
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, go back in your life, in your entire life, and make a list of 10 things, or let's make it even easier. Come up with 5 things where you felt that way. That's like a specific
Frust-
thing, and you know exactly, like, you know what I mean?
frustrate 5 things where I
Not
felt this kind of
frustrated necessarily,
frustration,
but
or
where you saw somebody doing some, like making a mistake or doing something wrong,
okay,
and it's
okay,
so obvious to you, but it's not obvious to them.
okay,
Do you know what I mean? Like a kid
yeah,
trying to tie his shoes,
yeah,
or somebody like trying to ride a bike and they keep scared and they slow down and then they fall.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Like that's a small step, right? So I need to
yeah,
take a small step like that and build on top of each other. And if I keep giving that, then
mm-hmm,
then I think it'll be more fun for you, and you'll be like, "Oh, I'm excited to do this." Do you understand what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Instantly, as I heard this, I have few things that
I can make the program like
in my
that,
mind.
but I feel like then it can't be an 11-week program. It has to be like a year-long program, because at that small stage, it's like it's literally gonna take
Mhm.
50 steps to get there. And it's almost,
But
the
I don't think so. I don't think so. Do you know why? Because uh, if, for example, if we can, the whole point is to help us come to some small specific thing. So if you have a list of questions, for example, uh, think about a moment where you laughed at somebody. I don't know, for example. And then to so then they have a list of memories or one memory. And then why did you laugh at that person, and what they did you some were you sometimes that person in your past, for example. So something like that. So if I think about
yeah, I think I can get
uh,
the
mhm,
if this is the entire thing that they need to learn. I think I can do that with like the first 20% of it. The problem right
mhm,
now is I don't even know the last 80%. So when I don't even know what that last 80% is, how can I translate it into assignments? Like this is why this is
yeah,
taking so long
yeah,
for me to, and I'm glad that it's taking me this long, and I'm glad that this is so difficult. You know why? Like I feel like I've been doing this for a year and a half and I'm only 20% there. So I need to
mhm,
do it for another 4 years to fully get it to the where I want it to be. And I'm glad it's like that. You know why? Whenever something is this hard, I'm so happy. I'm so glad. Because number one, it's a sign that I'm doing it right. Because I don't see
mhm,
anybody else so far who has actually been able to do this properly yet. And number two, because I know that if I figure this once I got it to ideal point, people can't just come and copy it because it's not that easy. Do you understand what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Like, and then by the time
mm,
they copy it, they let's say they take a year of the program and they copy everything and they really replicate it and get people to do it. By then, I would have already learned more stuff, and also I
yeah,
think one of the things that they can't replicate, I think, is the whole the community aspect of it. Like, because I feel like if I do this correctly, like right now, I feel like you, Rosalinda, certain people in the community can almost teach other people some of this stuff already, which other people are not going to
mm,
be able to replicate.
I see.
But anyway, I think we're But yeah, I agree
So
with you. The little steps, but I think it will still take a really long time, because right now you're not even thinking about, for example, okay, just killing your darlings alone
mhm,
would probably be like 5 little steps, just that alone, right? Like,
yeah,
uh, uh, like learning how to write a certain way is probably another 5 steps, and then like there's so many aspects to it that uh,
yeah, yeah. Um, what I wanted to say, yeah, about critical thinking. Do you think that there is some way that we can kind of, I don't know, if there is a point to create a course about that, or to,
yeah, I mean that's this course. I just don't call it critical thinking, because if you call it critical thinking, is if think about it, imagine my marketing message is like, oh, you don't know how to think, so I'm going to teach you how to think, and that's what this course is. People are going to be like, I don't need that, I know how to think. Like that's
yeah,
the delusion, right? Like
mm-hmm,
almost nobody knows how to think properly. Like it's kind of like the self-awareness thing, right? Like 90% of people think they're self-aware, but only 15% of people are actually self-aware, or something. Like it's a crazy
mm-hmm.
amount of number of people who think that they know, like they think they're smart, but in reality they're not. You know what I mean?
Okay, so you know what I noticed, that there is kind of, when I think about a story, it drives me in this emotion, in this moment, and I'm so into that specific content that I cannot uh, look from a different perspective. But when I'm listening to somebody, I see, this is connected to that. Okay, so it's so easier when I'm just listening to other people stories. So I was thinking that in this process, actually, of creating meat truth sandwich, or doing the assignment, these things mix together. So we pretend like we are thinking about ourselves, but actually we are feeling it, and that's why we force this to go in the right direction.
Yeah, I feel
So
exactly that. Like
yeah,
that's what I feel everybody's doing. Like
yeah, and this is totally
everyone's myth
natural.
truth sandwich, or not everyone's, but most of the myth truth sandwiches that I see feels kind of forced.
Mine as well, because it's
And I see I haven't
natural.
broken that yet. Like I don't know exactly what that is. Why is it that those feel forced versus the ones that I do made doesn't feel forced? What's the difference? I haven't really cracked that yet.
I I think
Mhm.
this is because you generally are not that much attached to what you're speaking. I think you are
Can you
speaking
give me an
like a
example?
narrator. I have that impression of you because um, it looks like you're less emotional when you are sharing a story, generally, like on average. So this means this can, like imagine that you're sharing a story of a friend. So this is how I feel when I am listening to your story. But many times we are driven into the story, so we get emotional, heated up. You know, this happened. You need to believe my words because it's so intense, and
You
then
know why?
we cannot detach. No,
I think that's not the reason why. I think that's the outcome. It's not the reason. It's the
okay.
it's the consequences.
Oh, okay. So do you think that the cause
It's
is
the
that you
effect. It's not the
actually
cause. Yeah,
process
the cause
this?
is this: that when other people do it, they don't give example. when I do it, I give very specific examples. When other people do it, and even if they give an example, it's not really an example. It's just like a rewording of the same statement. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do you know what I mean? Like, for example, like
Yeah.
some people might be like, "Oh, like, you know, you have to." Here's one. I'm just making this up. When you make content, you have to have a hook, and you have to have this, and then you have to have a payoff at the end, right? And then what they do is,
Mm-hmm.
for example, and then they give an example. Here they're like they might pick a content that has that, right? That is, if you see this video here, the hook is this, and this is like, and I saw somebody sent me a video of, it's like, oh, this is how I got 500,000 views on my video. It's all about storytelling. You need a setup, conflict, and resolution. So what's the setup here? Oh, how do I edit this video? That's the setup. And then what's the conflict? Oh, but I don't know how to do this. And then I found the answer through looking at here. And then the result, like the resolution, is like, oh, and I was able to finish it in 10 minutes. Like, they force some example into it to make it seem like, and then
Mm-hmm.
of course nobody gets it, so they're frustrated. So they get more frustrated. It's like, you don't get it, and they keep trying to do that because people are not getting your example.
Yeah.
Whereas in what I would do, this I just came up with, is, yeah, you have to have a hook, and then the explanation, and then payoff at the end, right? And like what I would do is, like, what you want is, you want people to have the kind of feeling of, I said this in the Wednesday workshop. I came up with the idea for what I call like Jeopardy hook. So when you watch Jeopardy, do you know Jeopardy?
No.
Jeopardy is
No.
like the show where you have all these boxes, and you pick $100, $200, and you pick one, and they flip and then you have to answer that question. It's like a game show.
Okay.
So you pick a question, and they're like, okay, who was the first president of the United States? And then go ding, ding, ding. For 30 seconds, they have to wait. And then everybody has to write their answers, and they show it. And it's like, you're correct, incorrect, blah, 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 right? So
Okay.
now, when you ask a question like that, that's a hook. And the reason why is because if you ask a question that I know the answer to, what people love doing in Jeopardy is like, oh, George Washington. And then people
Mm-hmm.
answer some right answer, and it's like, oh yeah, see, I told you, right? I told you. That's what they want to say, right? And that's kind
Yeah.
of like one way, an example of one way to create hook is like that, where you say, hey, um, like the kind of the questions that I ask on my Instagram stories, right? Like, um, you know, what did I ask yesterday? I forgot. But like, I'll ask a question which I think people think that they know the answer to. So you want to raise a
Okay.
question that you want people think that they know the answer to, because then they'll watch till the end to see if their answer was right or not. Do
Okay.
you understand what I mean?
I
So
see. I see.
I might ask a question like, how many continents are there in the world? And then people are gonna be like, 5, 6, you know what I mean? How many planets are there in the world? Like they think they know the answer, so they're gonna try to guess, but they're not quite sure, so they're gonna wait till the end to see if they got the answer right, right?
Mm-hmm.
So something like that. That's an example of how you can hook and then pay off at the end. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna say, that's the kind of feeling you want to create for the audience,
I see. I see.
so that the example I gave is kind of fits in so perfectly that people can feel, oh, it's like, that's so true. It kind of makes go, it's like, that's so true. That's what I do when I go on Facebook and I see a video where a dog is like, dog is like meeting a person for the first time, and then on the top it says like, oh, they've been separated for 3 months, and then like, I want to see what
Mm-hmm.
happens, right? That's kind of like, oh, when they ask a question in Jeopardy and I know the answer, I guess the answer, and I want to see what if I'm right. It's a very, very similar feeling. It's a similar emotion,
Hmm.
right? That's why I always say connect the dots with emotion, not logic. So when I'm able to do that, people are gonna be like, oh yeah, I get it, because they actually like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
the reason why, like when Jordan Peterson says something, a lot of people, so many people tell me this. So when Jordan Peterson explains something, he's like, I always knew that, I always sensed that, but I didn't know exactly how to put it into words, and you articulated it perfect for me. You know how a lot of people say that about Jordan Peterson? That's what you
Yeah.
want. You don't want to teach them brand new information. You want to be able to articulate what people are already feeling into words.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
the only way you can do that is you have to do it yourself first, emotionally. What does this feel like? What does it feel like? And then and try to reverse engineer this. Why does it feel like that? And then articulate it or something like that. But that's only part of it. Like I can say this all I want a million times, and people are gonna be like, "Oh yeah, that's so true." That's like, "Oh yeah, I get it." And everybody thinks when I say this shit, everybody thinks they got it, and then they go into a blank piece of paper and they try to do it themselves and they can't. This is why I need to come up with the lessons. Do you understand what I mean?
You need to come up with the lessons.
Yeah, like the mini lessons, mini
Oh, okay.
exercises,
Okay.
the mini
So,
steps.
um,
Here's a mini
so I'm
step.
thinking. Okay.
One thing that I constantly do is, it doesn't matter what you say, and like actually it's a bad habit. I'm not. This is actually my weakness that turned out to be a strength. One of
Okay.
my weaknesses, no matter what you say, I'm going to try to debunk it. Doesn't matter how true it is. I play the devil's advocate. You know what that means? Devil's advocate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm always playing the devil's advocate. So people hate me because no matter what idea people came up with, I always debunk it. And then they're like, "Sun ruins everything," right?
Yeah.
So people hate me. So that's my weakness, but it's also my strength, because I think the fact that I constantly do that, I'm already the fact that I constantly do that every single day, like all day, every day, I'm always doing that, is part of the practice. So that when you know what I mean, so I'm practicing
Mm-hmm.
that. So that's something that I think a lot of people can can practice. Like I'm gonna give you, for example, I'm gonna give you 5 statements here. Try to debunk it. Like that's a practice, but you have to
Okay.
do that over and over
Yeah.
and over and over. You can't just do it once. And that personality
Yeah.
comes from the fact that I love proving people wrong. It's my it's my insecurity and my ego of trying to prove people wrong and trying to be right, which
Mm-hmm.
I hate, but it's actually one of my strengths. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely. Definitely. I see the benefits and the flaws of this trait of yours. Um, so I'm thinking uh, how I see like what you explained, that people, when people try to come up to with some uh, examples, or they say like this is how the structure look like,
Mm-hmm.
so definitely you're debunking it by trying to teach us these things, to like start from the heart or the
Mm-hmm.
emotion, and then to say what you got to say. What I found difficult there is when to say now, like let's stop feeling for a second and think about what happened there. So this is a place where I think we all slip, because we don't know how to stop this emotion. If we don't have that emotion, we can write whatever. But I personally don't like
That's
when
why
I
you
do
have
that.
to go with the ones that you've already felt before. And you want to. Because there's no
Yeah.
way, when Jordan Peterson says this, there's no way everybody's going like, I always knew that, but he articulated perfectly. Why? The reason why is because he's not talking about some advanced concept. That's not what he's doing.
Hmm.
What he's doing is he's taking some basic, everyday, universal truth that all humans feel,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he's just articulating that. And that's why we need to simplify. Like, we shouldn't try to blow people's minds. We shouldn't try to come up with some crazy theories. We shouldn't do any
Yeah.
of that.
So,
We should
but
start from basic human emotions.
you are missing one really important thing, because in that process, if this is the amount of some content
Mm-hmm.
there, he's speaking only this, but we don't know how to
How he got there.
pinpoint. Yes, we are here, so it's everywhere, and we don't know how to pinpoint specific precise thing. That's why I'm asking myself sometimes, because I get lost, did I learn anything? So what am I doing if I cannot say one simple thing? Because
So I think what I need to do is I need to bring the examples more simpler.
I don't know.
Because you were able to do it, right? When we did the connecting the dots example, this is the great example. When I talked about how I was afraid to look at my bank account,
Mm-hmm.
and I always think that I have enough money in the bank, but then like later, finally when I check it, it's like, oh shit, this is all I have, right? When I told that,
Yeah.
you immediately, without even trying,
Mm-hmm.
was able to connect it to another one where you were afraid to step on the scale, and then finally
Yeah.
when you did, it was like, oh, it's like, holy shit, like it threw you off. So somehow, without me telling you anything, you were
Mm-hmm.
able to connect those two, right? But the thing is, what
Yeah.
everybody's trying to do is, so that's when it worked perfectly and it fits perfectly. And that's why when you say that, everybody gets it. Everybody's like, oh yeah, I know
Mm-hmm.
that, right? But then if I try to do this, if I told you, try to come up with a time um, when you were avoiding the truth, or avoiding to learn the truth, or
Yeah, which
avoiding some,
I wouldn't come. I wouldn't
then
come to
what people are gonna be,
any
yeah,
example.
yeah, then people are gonna give me some stupid examples like, oh yeah, like I knew I had to, tell my boss this thing, but I was avoiding it. You know what I mean? Like, they're
Yeah.
gonna come up with some
Yeah.
stupid shit that doesn't even fit there. Like, well,
Okay.
it does fit, but
Okay.
it's like that's the limitation of words. If I put it into words, then they're gonna do that. But what happens is, when I told this story, it's
Mm-hmm.
not just avoiding. Like, there's a lot of other nuances to that. That it's not just avoiding. There's a lot of other things, and multiple emotions and everything connected
Okay.
to it.
Let's do another example.
Mhm.
Let's do something else, about some emotion, some situation where you felt some emotion, and to see
Like a
if I
universal emotion or something like that.
yeah, to see if I have some example that I can come up with.
I mean, there are so many.
Mm,
Like, you want me to give you one, and then you want to see if you
yeah,
can come up
yeah,
with
but
one.
I'm thinking, if you cannot, I'm trying to think, and maybe to ask you if you can come to some example.
Yeah, like, here's one. I said this last week, but you know the there's I was watching this stand-up comedian who was telling a story of how he hates going to Starbucks because, like, in his mind, coffee is just coffee, sugar, milk, right? Like basic coffee, right? But Starbucks has so many different choices, right? And it's like the fancy shit. So he's scared to go into Starbucks because they
Mm-hmm.
ask too many. There's too many options. Too many. I don't even know what these options are, right? So he'll just go in and be like, can I get a coffee with cream? And then he's like, and she was like asking you, oh, you want this? You want half an hour? You want this? You want soy? You want 2%? Like all of these questions, right? And you want you want a latte? You want like all of these different questions that he has no idea. So he's like intimidated. He's like, yeah, whatever is fine. It's like, just give me whatever, right? And then at the
Mm-hmm.
end, he goes like, and if you get it wrong, don't worry. If you get it wrong and I don't like it, I won't even say anything. I'll just keep my mouth shut. I'll leave. I'll throw it away and go to another Starbucks and try again. Do you understand what I mean? So when I heard
Mm-hmm.
that joke, immediately where my mind went to is like, oh my gosh, that's like kind of like me. I'm such a pushover that when I go to a restaurant and I order something and they get the delivery wrong, I'll just be like, it sucks, but whatever. And I'll just eat the wrong thing. I won't even
Mm-hmm.
complain. Or like if I get a delivery and, order something wrong, like, or the order comes in and they're missing something. And so I won't even complain because I'm so
Mm-hmm.
afraid of the confrontation. I don't want them to hate me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so,
So the emotion is
but that it's the same emotion of me when I was telling you about like, I'm so afraid of having this 30-minute conversation with this person, of firing them, that I'll just keep going. I'm so afraid to break up with
Mhm.
them, this person, that I'll just keep the relationship going. If you want to hear the rest of this conversation, go to sunE.co/subscribe or just click on the link in the description to get on my mailing list. It's totally free and you'll get the full episode in your inbox every week.